9-year-old Melody Buzzard was isolated from the world, cut off from extended family, and taken out of public school to be allegedly homeschooled by her mother. But then one day, Melody's mother, Ashlee, took her on a 3-day road trip halfway across the country. But Melody never came home. And Ashlee is saying nothing about where her daughter is. And now she was back in court on more alleged bizarre behavior. Accusations that she falsely imprisoned a man she's known for years and threatening him with a box cutter. What's going on with Ashlee? What happened in court today? And most importantly, where is Melody? Tonight, the search for answers continues. But first, a fatal mystery aboard a Carnival cruise ship is unfolding down in Florida. Anna Kepner, an 18-year-old high school senior from Titusville, was found dead aboard the Carnival Horizon on November 7th, 2025. Family and classmates remember her as a straight-A student, cheerleader, and gymnast who had recently completed military entrance testing and planned to enlist and serve her country after graduation. Tonight, the latest in this mystery as new details begin to emerge about the timeline and reports that Anna's stepbrother is being investigated by the FBI. What happened on that fatal family cruise? I'm Vinny Politan. Great to have you with us here tonight on Closing Arguments. And this story, everyone is trying to figure out exactly what happened here. Anna Kepner is on a family vacation. And let me tell you, everything we're learning about this young woman, she deserved that vacation. This is someone, she's in her senior year getting straight A's. Go back to your senior year. Like, a lot of kids are goofing off that last year of high school, right? They worked hard, they've got their future sort of lined up, now it's time to relax. No, not her. Straight ahead. She had a future planned. She was going to enlist and serve this country. So yes, she deserved a nice, wonderful family vacation. And it was supposed to be a vacation on a fun Carnival cruise, right? Jump on the boat. And she's been on cruises before. We've seen pictures of her on a cruise with her grandparents, right? So this is, and in that part of Florida, there's a lot of cruise ships that are taking off. So it's a place to go to get away, and you don't have to go so far away. You just go to the port, you jump on the ship, and everybody's having fun. There's music and food and family. That's what this trip was supposed to be all about. Now, she died. We believe she died under nefarious circumstances, potentially killed by someone else. FBI investigating this case. This is not the most difficult case in the world to investigate, because on these cruise ships there are cameras everywhere, tracking the movements for the safety of the passengers, and for reasons just like this as well. When something happens, someone goes missing, whatever it is, we've got cameras. Where are they? We've got a very, these ships are huge, but they're contained. It's a contained environment. And you should be able to track exactly where she was, what she was doing, and most importantly, who was with her. That's where this investigation begins and perhaps ends. Yeah, you've got the crime scene, you've got forensic evidence that you're going to get there. But to put the pieces together, just track her. Where did she go? She was with her family, and then she left. And no one saw her alive again, at least some members of the family. Let's bring in Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas is here to walk us through this story. We're getting to the latest developments now, and I want to have a better understanding of those final hours. It seems like it should be easy to sort of figure out and track for investigators. What are we learning?
Well, Vinny, we're now learning about the reported sequence of events that occurred leading up to those final hours, and we're also learning that Anna was sharing her room cabin on that cruise with 2 of those minor siblings. Now, this is all according to the Daily Mail's recent report, and it reads, the Daily Mail has now learned that an onboard security footage captured doomed Anna's final steps as she headed back to her room on the evening of November 6th after complaining during dinner that she felt unwell. She was sharing the cabin with her 14-year-old brother and 16-year-old stepbrother. with the two boys sleeping in bunk beds and Anna in her own bed, according to a well-placed source. The boys headed back to the room later that evening, but the younger brother changed his clothes and went out again to take snapshots of the $800 million ship to post on social media. When he got back, he noticed Anna wasn't in bed, but presumed she was staying up late with the grown-ups and went to sleep, according to the source. It wasn't until the next day, when the brother and stepbrother got up and headed to breakfast, that the family realized the bubbly teen from Titusville, Florida was missing. As Christopher Kepner began searching the horizon for his daughter, it's believed that a medical emergency was announced over the public address system. Sources say that prompted the dad to race to his daughter's cabin, where he walked inside to find a cleaning crew had just discovered her dead body crammed under the bed. So, Vinny, multiple siblings going in and out of that room leading up after she was feeling unwell. They went back. They're going out. The younger child went out.
But at some point, she's alone with her stepbrother.
That's exactly right, and that's the kicker out of that whole story here. Now, following all of this, earlier this week, the stepmother, who was also on the ship, Chantel Hudson, her former husband filed an emergency motion for temporary relief. Now, this former husband is also the father of this stepbrother, the suspect in this death right now. Now, this temporary emergency motion, pretty much a temporary resolution to a family court matter while something urgent gets sorted out, in this case, specifically here, this tragic death. Now, the filing addresses the 16-year-old suspect, saying the respondent took the remaining minor children on a cruise with the stepchild of her paramour. The 16-year-old child is now a suspect in the death of the stepchild during the cruise. While released from custody, the 16-year-old child is residing with a third party. Now, Vinny, of course, the stepmom has filed a response that was earlier this week on Tuesday. That response reads, with regard to the minor child, TH, that's the stepson, the parties signed a stipulation on or about November 17, 2025, that the minor child, TH, will be living with a relative of the respondent/mother. This was to ensure the safety of the youngest child of the parties, as well as the safety of the remaining child of the stepfather. The respondent/father is believed to have hired counsel for the minor child, TH, due to the alleged incident involving TH and the death of the child of the stepfather. Thus, the petitioner/father is well aware and has participated in the immediate safety concerns, and he, in fact, agreed to the placement of TH with the mother's relative. The mother is also providing counseling for the remaining minor child regarding this tragic situation. Again, the father is aware of this. So a lot of family dynamic going on here in court, Vinny.
Right, but it does seem from their description slightly different than the Daily Mail, that the younger sibling there is probably another stepbrother.
Yeah, versus brother.
Brother, because of this custody battle that's taking place involved the minor children, and one of whom is the brother of the step. So they both have to be steps, it seems. Very confusing. I understand, very confusing for people who try to follow the bouncing ball here. So why don't you remind us of this family tree, if you can?
Well, Vinny, before we get to the family tree, they were actually in court today talking about this custody battle.
We've got them on video.
We got them on video, so let's take a listen to that.
Got to watch that.
In terms of what has happened, we've indicated through our other motions that my client is being denied his parenting time with the two younger children. However, it's come to our attention that we're not aware of the full details, and again, there's apparently an FBI investigation ongoing, that the mother took the two younger children on a cruise, and that the older child, who's approximately 16 years of age, is a suspect in the death of the stepchild, an 18-year-old daughter that was in the same room, staying in the same room on the cruise ship. So we're very concerned with those circumstances. The parties have agreed for the 16-year-old is now placed with a maternal relative, so not with either parent, with a third party here in our area up near Hernando County.
So with a maternal relative, the 16-year-old is with a maternal relative?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and so really what's at issue in your emergency motion is the youngest child?
Correct, Your Honor.
And what would be, if the 16-year-old is in the care of someone else, is not with mom, what would be the emergency in the court needing to address the issue as to the youngest child?
Well, we feel there are some circumstances regarding that, the 16-year-old and the mother's judgment regarding that cruise that would affect, obviously that her ability to care for the minor child, the 9-year-old, in that she's making some bad choices and obviously alienating the child from the father as well. Well, Your Honor, it's our understanding that because the cruise was in international waters, that the young child, not the 9-year-old, but the 16-year-old was allowed to drink. The teenagers were given their own room in which to stay. Just a lot of circumstances that showed that the mother in this case was not exercising appropriate supervision over this child or the other child involved.
There is currently an FBI investigation as well with regard to the 16-year-old, and as well as there was a DCF involvement, and there's a DCF open investigation on the father in this case. The FBI has cleared my client from any wrongdoing. She's not considered a suspect in this matter at all. I would have difficulty in them putting the 16-year-old on the stand because I don't want anything done that would incriminate the young man. Mom immediately after the incident, he was hospitalized, and then when released from the hospital, mom and dad participated too. They signed a stipulation basically allowing him to live with mom's relative, and they're getting counseling and so forth for him. So I don't see that there's any emergency relative to the youngest child. The issue that counsel raised about drinking, there are videotapes on the ship that confirm that there was absolutely no drinking, and that and DCF investigated and saw that there was no alcohol in mom's house whatsoever. So I'm not sure where that's coming from, but if that's the case, I would think in order for me to move forward on that motion, I would need to subpoena the DCF worker and possibly the FBI investigator as to those issues, as well as the mother and the stepfather.
So, Benny, a lot of family dynamic again going on there, and that actual emergency hearing will be held in person on December 5th at 9 a.m. with multiple witnesses expected to be called. But let's break down this family. Let's remind people, because there's a lot of confusion going on here.
It's very confusing because you have siblings, you have half-siblings, you have step-siblings, you have various relationships and marriages. So let's see how we can break this down.
Yeah, we're not sure who falls under half, step, full, but this is the breakdown as we understand it. So we'll start with Christopher Kepner and Heather Wright. They had a daughter. That is the deceased here, Anna Kepner. Christopher later married a woman named Tabitha Kepner. They had 2 children. Those are Anna's half-siblings. Then Christopher married Chantel Hudson, the stepmother who was on the ship. Chantel was previously married to a man named Thomas Hudson, who we just saw in video there. Now, we don't know exactly how many children they had, but we know that Chantel moved to Titusville with the youngest 2 children, and those 2 children of Thomas and Chantel are Anna's step-siblings. So that's as far as we have the breakdown there.
And from what we watched in that hearing, because the hearing is about Thomas and Chantel, I think they're talking about those 2 children, the younger children. That's what they keep referencing, the younger children, and that would line up with what we're learning about the family here. And those, it seems to me, would likely be the 2 who were sharing the room with Anna on the ship.
That's what would make the most sense.
That would make sense. Again, we're trying to put pieces together here because you're dealing with a lot of juveniles. But this is it's unrelated to the investigation of the murder, but it is related.
An insight into the family, the dynamics going on.
All right, Cody, you've got more for us coming up. Stick around, thank you. Let's bring in our think tank. Wow, joining us tonight, criminal defense attorney, legal analyst Carmen Rowe, along with attorney Ali Benevento, and criminal defense attorney and lawyer Lori on TikTok, Lori Murray. Okay, the custody battle will provide a lot more information about family dynamics, and things are going to come out through there that will give us more insight into this FBI investigation, as we heard. But the bottom line is what I heard is that there's a 16-year-old who is suspected of perhaps being connected to the death of his stepsister, with whom he was sharing a cabin on a cruise ship. And he has not been arrested, but he's been taken out of the home for the safety of the other children. To me, that seems very telling that there's something going on with this 16-year-old, that he needs to be removed from his other step sibling and his own, I guess, younger brother. Carmen, what is going on here?
Vinny, I wish I knew. This is a difficult case. We have a lot of information that we don't know, but what we've talked about is how many cameras are on that boat. The problem is the cameras aren't in their bedroom, where we know the 16-year-old was one of the last people to spend time with her. I think it's also important to know what the chronology was. How long was he in that room with her by himself, where the other sibling was out of the room? I mean, there's so many questions here. And the autopsy, what was her cause of death? Was there alcohol and drugs involved? Or was this really, something much more serious and much more physically, difficult for her? We don't know the answers to any of these questions, so it's really hard to know. But we do know this family dynamic was fractured, broken, troubled, etc. And I think that's going to be a big part of it.
Yeah, let's put in the mix here, Allie, the psychological counseling that the suspect is now getting. What does that tell us about what happened here, if anything?
Well, I think it tells us that he is probably the last person to be with his stepsister before she passed away. And there's reason to believe that, like Carmen said, something nefarious went on. We don't know the exact details of what happened, of course, but it sounds like there are some safety concerns in the home. There were some safety concerns on the boat. I frankly don't understand who puts unrelated teenage boys with their teenage daughter in a cruise ship cabin together. I'm not blaming anybody. I do think that showed really poor judgment. And now, unfortunately, we're dealing with a tragic set of circumstances where a little girl is dead, and there are some serious questions about whether her stepbrother had something to do with it.
And this whole thing is being investigated by the FBI. It seems that federal jurisdiction will rule here, Lori, because this is all happening on the water. How does that impact everything that is happening here?
Well, I think the FBI does a very good job of investigation. The thing that I think that is going to be difficult for us and the public is that the FBI is very tight-lipped about everything. So all of the information that we are getting is coming from the family. It's mostly coming from this family court filings and that family court hearing. I was interested to see in there that they took that 16-year-old immediately to a hospital and compare that with the fact that the dad immediately after this said that he was just as in the dark as we all were. Well, no, you weren't. If that child is in a hospital getting medical care, you know exactly what was going on. So it's going to be very tight-lipped information, but the FBI will do a very thorough investigation.
Okay, let's talk about how this gets handled, because it seems everything's happening within this family. The family is a blended family. I presume they're still together, right? The adults who took their blended family on this trip, they're witnesses. That other child, that younger child, is a witness to all of this as well. How does that affect the investigation? How does that affect a potential trial here? Carmen, you want to start us off?
Sure. I think it's interesting how young these children are and how the courts are going out of their way to protect the rights of the 16-year-old. Things look bad for him right now, but I love the fact that we are kind of protecting these children first and figuring things out second as they gather other types of information. So the age of these children that were there, is a significant factor. So I don't know how much they're going to need them or how much they would actually use them in this case.
It's also going to be interesting to figure out what conversations.
Go ahead, Allie.
Sorry, Lori. It's going to be interesting to figure out what conversations went on amongst family members before law enforcement actually boarded the ship. You have parents, one of their children is missing. two of their other children are potentially suspects. Did they have conversations? Were they telling them not to talk to each other? What did they say to one another? Even the statements that were just read on air, coming from a close source of the family. I mean, who else could that have been other than somebody on the ship or somebody with whom they've spoken? So it's really complicated because clearly there were conversations that took place within that family dynamics, and our instincts are to protect each other, to protect our own, but at the same time we're dealing with a deceased teenage girl. And so I think all of that complicates things because we don't know what kind of frantic flurry of conversation was going on in the immediate aftermath of them discovering that she was missing and then shortly thereafter discovering her body.
Yeah, and what I was going to say earlier is just that when you have, minor children and any children really involved in an investigation like this, you have, a forensic interview that's done of these kids so that you can find out what they know, what they saw, and also, these people are trained to kind of tell if they have been coached, and so that they can get to the truth behind the case. They're not always right. Most of the time in my cases, I'm going to tell you they're wrong.
Let me ask you, can the parents step in and prevent them from speaking and cooperating?
I guess they can. I don't know the answer to that, Allie. Anybody? Do y'all know I think they can. They're not under subpoena. Yeah.
But do so at your own risk, because then doesn't it look like you're obstructing the investigation into your other deceased child? I mean, these people are in a difficult spot.
There could be mixed loyalties here, Carmen, because
sure,
mom has two children. One of her children could be a witness against her other child.
Mm-hmm.
You probably don't want him to testify against his brother, like whether the impact is putting his brother away in prison for potentially life or just putting him through that whole process. So can a parent step up and say, my child's not talking?
Absolutely. And look, if it was my 16-year-old kid, I wouldn't have him talking to law enforcement without a lawyer.
How about the 14? How about the younger brother, the witness, not the defendant?
Absolutely the same. And in these types of family proceedings, when there is an ancillary criminal matter, oftentimes they will appoint a lawyer for the minor child to ensure that their rights are protected, depending on what's going on. And so I wouldn't be giving statements on, with these children. I wouldn't allow them to give statements if I was the parent. And I certainly wouldn't do it without a lawyer and consulting with them ahead of time. Because as you said, I'm worried about all my kids, not just the 16-year-old, depending on what's going on. And certainly we don't know, the parents don't know, whatever happened inside that little room with these 3 kids in the room at the time. Yeah. Nobody knows who the finger is going to end up pointing at.
And the other thing is, with mom and dad going at it in court for custody, which parent makes the decision on whether or not they're talking? That's another issue. Okay, think tank staying with us. This case is extremely layered, extremely complicated. When we come back, Anna Kepner's mother is now speaking out. She wasn't on the boat. That was her stepmom that was on the ship. Her mom is speaking out. Plus, coming up next hour. Tonight on Videopolitan investigates a beloved Tennessee nursing student disappears into the morning woods, and years later, a conviction still leaves unanswered questions. Did investigators truly uncover every piece of the puzzle, or is the Holly Bobo story still hiding secrets? Tonight, we investigate.
You have to punish him, you have to kill him for a few $100?
You don't touch fire and expect not to get burned. My goal is to embarrass you. My goal is to make you suffer. My goal is for pain. Make sure that you remember me for the rest of your life.
You weren't feeling any sympathy.
If I'm being honest now.
You kill a man for acting like a junkie when you're the one turned him into a junkie.
Interview with a Killer season finale, Saturday night at 8 Eastern and Pacific, only on Court TV.
That is Anna Kepner wearing a Carnival Cruise hoodie in a video she posted on her TikTok before her death aboard the Carnival Horizon. That is so sad. This story is so incredibly tragic because everything we're learning about Anna Kepner is nothing but positive, positive, positive. But there was some, a little bit of chaos surrounding her in her life, but she was so focused. I want to bring back in Cody. Thomas, field reporter, Court TV, and we're learning some new information now, some new reporting from Inside Edition.
Yeah, fresh into the newsroom, Vinny. So, Anna Kepner's ex-boyfriend's father did an interview with...
Anna's ex-boyfriend's father, gotcha.
Did an interview with Inside Edition talking about the dynamic that he witnessed. So, he said this 16-year-old stepbrother was obsessed with Anna. He also spoke about his son, which would have been Anna's ex-boyfriend.
Right.
Realizing this obsession, this ex-boyfriend was on a FaceTime with Anna at one time at night. Anna had fallen asleep. You know, young kids get on FaceTime. Let's watch each other go to sleep, just being like cute fairy tale love story. He says as he was witnessing Anna's sleep, he saw the suspect, this stepbrother, climb on top of her. Very weird. Very weird as she's sleeping. The father of the ex-boyfriend also reports that Anna was very scared of him, that she told the parents that she was scared of him, and that this kid also carried around a big knife. This is all fresh in the newsroom right now.
Can you get a knife? I don't know if you can get a knife. I guess you could get a knife on a cruise. I've never been on a cruise. Is there a metal detector?
I
have no idea. I have no idea. Okay.
But not to say that knife was on the cruise.
No, but I'm trying to think of the potential. So, Anna Kepner, there's some tension between her and her 16-year-old stepbrother, and it's because he's a boy, she's a girl, kind of.
And then,
tension.
you know, that leaves open the question, she told the parents, the parents ignored it, if that's true.
If that's true, and she told her parents that she felt this way, yet they still were sharing a cabinet.
Right.
That's insanity. Insanity.
All according to Inside Edition. The ex-boyfriend's father did this interview.
Wow. Okay, let's talk about Anna's mom. She's speaking out also.
Yeah, she spoke to WESH-2 down in Central Florida. She shared a little bit about what Anna was like and also how she learned that her daughter had died. This is Anna's biological mother. Take a listen to this.
She always wanted to make people laugh. She loved the water. We were constantly going to the lake here where I live. So she can go swimming. I found out through Google, because I ended up Googling it, because all the information, the only information I had was my daughter was on a cruise.
Finding out your daughter is dead through a Google search. Can you imagine?
Now, we don't know obviously the history here of the family, but at the end of the day, that's the mother of someone who's dead.
And that's the way you're finding it out.
Find it on Google. That's not a good
She also, she went on TikTok and posted about it with this caption here. It says, "My beautiful baby girl was found dead Friday, and I just found out last night. Her dad and stepmom didn't even try to contact me. So I'm gonna give that to God and let him sort it out, along with whoever did this to my baby girl. Anna Marie, I miss you so much. You have no idea how shattered I am over this. Please forgive me for not being there. I'm so sorry." So again, Benny, to your point, we don't know what this situation was, the relationship was there, but of course, your daughter's still dead.
Yeah, it's her daughter. She's not the custodial mother. She didn't have custody. Dad had custody, so it's always, you know, there's something going on. My dad would have custody. But at the end of the day, that's her daughter, and no one is telling her what happened. Okay. Cody, thanks so much for that late-breaking stuff as well. Let's bring back in our think tank, Carmen Rowe, Ali Benevento, Lori Murray. Lori, to me, this is extremely troubling, this reporting from Inside Edition. If there was any indication that there was something that made Anna uncomfortable to be around her 16-year-old stepbrother, if he was, in fact, obsessed with her, and then they're placed in the same room on a ship, to me, that now calls a lot of things into question here, Lori.
I think it does call a lot of things into question, and it specifically calls into question that family court hearing where they're calling her an unfit mother. But, you know, what I have to think also is that if this ex-boyfriend did witness that, and then he told Anna about it, which of course he would tell her about it, or she might have woken up when somebody's on top of her, surely that was reported to these parents. Surely it was. And maybe they thought that because they're putting the younger brother in there that he would act as a chaperone. I don't know. I can't imagine. As a mother, I am hesitant about putting my own two biological kids together in the same cabin or space. This is just wrong on so many levels. And unfortunately, it set the scene and gave the opportunity if this is in fact how she died, it gave the opportunity, and they're going to have to live with that. And I really am also going to be very curious to see if these two lovebirds make it through this. I can't imagine being with someone whose child killed my child. I can't imagine that. How they're still even putting up a united front is beyond me.
Yeah. Carmen?
Horrible judgment.
Yeah, Carmen, I wanted to ask you about liability here, right? The way we look at this, like if there's some level of writing on the wall, is there any potential liability for the parents for creating this situation and this sort of setup? Now, I'm sure their intentions were great, a family cruise, etc. But if there is actual knowledge of Anna being not comfortable with the 16-year-old stepbrother, is there some sort of obligation on behalf of the parents here? And is there some liability for what happened?
Vinny, that's a great question. It's really interesting, especially in the climate we're in, where we're charging parents all over the country with various offenses associated with the actions of their children in a way we've never done before. So it's a really great question. And I think it's going to come down to what sort of things that they knew about how dangerous this was. I mean, you start talking about a large knife. You're talking about, being really inappropriate with a young teenage girl. It's like, what did they know? Should they have taken action? And did they ignore these indications either from her directly or from other siblings who suggested that there was a problem? So that's a really interesting question that I think we may see and hear a little bit more about exactly what they knew now that this is just coming out. But it certainly provides a motive. And it tells you something that I thought when I heard this story is that, wrapping this girl up in a blanket, covering her up with flotation devices or whatever, all of that speaks to the relationship between the person who killed her and her body being in that room. I don't think it was just hiding her. I think it was, covering her up in a way that suggested a relationship, which is interesting with this new information.
Well, and also, she went back to that cabin sick, and perhaps she was in bed, and perhaps she was laying down, and perhaps, again, he decided to climb on top of her, and that got out of hand when she fought back. I mean, there's all kinds of scenarios that we can play through here, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see what facts continue to come out. I want to know more. And it's frustrating for me with this FBI investigation that we don't hear more and we won't hear it sooner. But I can absolutely see that happening. And if that's the case, and it was reported to these parents before, just another strike against them as parenting or their parenting skills.
Yeah, and again, this is all coming from Inside Edition. We have not obviously done the interviews ourselves. They have done the interviews, but we've been listening to them. All right, everyone's staying with us. When we come back, we're going to talk about another case. Another child. This one is missing. Melody Buzzard is still missing. Her mother, Ashlee, was in court today, and the judge made a huge decision today. All the details next.
Ashlee, can you say if Melody is safe at this time?
So that's Ashlee Buzzard entering the courthouse today for another appearance, a preliminary hearing on a charge of false imprisonment. But all the questions, of course, are about her missing daughter, Melody. Like, where's Melody? Where's your daughter? Why aren't you saying anything? How can you remain silent? Your daughter's nowhere to be found. Where is she? Where is she? So she's in on a preliminary hearing of false imprisonment charges, and wow, what a day for her. What a day for Ashlee Buzzard, okay? The accuser / alleged victim in the case, a guy named Tyler Brewer, someone that she's known for years, apparently. Tyler testified that he testified today. He testified that he visited Ashlee Buzzard's home 5 times between November 1st and November 6th. He said on November 6th, while at Ashlee Buzzard's home for more than an hour, he felt threatened. He claims Buzzard's demeanor changed during their conversation and that she had a box cutter and he wasn't allowed to leave. The judge stated that an audio recording taken of Ashlee Buzzard from the last night Brewer was at her home did not show enough evidence for Brewer to have been in fear. So there's an audio recording of what was taking place here between Tyler Brewer and Ashlee Buzzard, but the judge said there's not enough there. Ashlee's electronic monitoring has been discontinued and the felony charge has been dismissed. And she's still not saying anything about her daughter. Let's bring back our think tank. Carmen Rowe, Allie Benevento, Lori Murray. Allie, this is another strange development in a strange case. You know, I get it, probably wasn't the strongest case in the world. But at the end of the day, she has a 9-year-old, sole custody, wasn't doing the reporting that was required for school. She's been missing. Mom says nothing, and she just walks out of court. Am I in crazy town right now?
I think she might be in crazy town. This lady is exhibiting some extremely bizarre behavior all the way across the board. I understand her case got dismissed today, but the testimony, or I guess the allegations in that case, were beyond bizarre. I know it's unrelated. It's really sad. I don't know what she knows or doesn't know about her daughter's disappearance or her being missing, but it is very clear that this woman is not well, at least to me, from what I've seen. I don't know what type of mental health issues are going on, or if, like I've mentioned in previous shows when we've covered this case, if there's something that all of us don't know, are these people in danger? Is her daughter in danger because of her, or is her daughter in danger along with her? I don't know, but strange is the word, bizarre, all of it.
What I don't understand here, someone clear this up for me. Lori, maybe. They're saying there is no criminal investigation right now. It's a missing persons investigation. So if someone is missing and there's a missing persons investigation and the person who's responsible for that missing person and the missing person is a minor and that person is saying nothing, why does nothing happen?
Well, I think it goes back to there not being a crime committed here. They need to find her. It's kind of like having a body for a murder case. At this point, you go backwards, you investigate backwards, you find out where she is, what happened, and then you figure out what caused that. And to Allie's point, I think there probably is some mental illness here, but there are mental illnesses that we can have pity for and we can have concern for. But with this case, nobody is pitying this woman. She's not letting us know what kind of problems that she's having. I think she's enjoying the limelight. She's got her stage makeup on today, but the wigs are all there. She's still dressing up for everything. I think she's really enjoying the limelight. Probably another reason why she's not talking, I don't know. But I think they have to have some kind of crime before they can investigate. Same thing with Kaylee Anthony. Remember Kaylee Anthony, they weren't investigating so much.
Well, she got arrested before they found a body, before they charged with murder. There's like child endangerment, child neglect. Are you not neglecting your child if you're not watching your 9-year-old and your 9-year-old is missing?
I think they will do that. But I think they will do that. I think they just have to get to that point. I mean, I don't think that they did that immediately with Kaylee Anthony. They have to get to that point. And honestly, I still believe that these investigators are sitting back watching her, hoping that she'll reveal something, hoping that she'll reach out and try to contact her.
She doesn't leave the house. She doesn't leave the house. She doesn't even have a car.
Hasn't happened yet.
She doesn't have a car. She doesn't leave the house. She doesn't have, I don't know how she pays for anything. She doesn't have any money. The only person who came over her house, she pulled a box cutter on, allegedly. All she does is rip down signs saying that her child is missing. That's when she goes outside. I don't get it. I'm frustrated, Carmen.
Vinny, I have a different take on this. I actually think the fix is in on these charges. I think law enforcement is desperate. I think that Casey Anthony is an excellent example, along with other cases where children have gone missing. They're looking to charge someone who knows something because they need them to talk to figure out where Melody is in this case. I think this whole box cutter thing was completely fabricated, and I think they did it to try to squeeze her, to get her to talk. And I think it's interesting.
He wasn't a cop. He was a paralegal. You think the paralegal, they sent him in there?
Yes, I think either they
Carmen,
sent him
why
in there
haven't they
or
done
they
it
went
by now?
No, they went to him. They went to him and they said, "Listen, what's going on? Can you get her to talk?" He goes to her house. He makes up this whole, she's holding a box cutter and I couldn't leave. He's a grown man. And sure enough, the charges are dismissed. I'm telling you, I think these cops are desperate to get answers from her. And she is, as you said, not leaving the house, not committing any crimes. What are they going to do now? But I do think the fix was in on those charges. That's just my take on it. So
I like the conspiracy part of that, and I do believe that they're trying to squeeze her. I just don't know that they would be in cahoots with a paralegal from a random firm, or I don't. I like conspiracy theories, but I don't know that that one is exactly right. But I do think they're trying to squeeze her.
But that's exactly what they do. Law enforcement goes to me first as a potential suspect. And when I won't talk, they're talking to my friends, they're talking to my family, they're talking to anybody and everybody who may have information. So all they needed to do was talk to this guy and see if he would go infiltrate and see if he could get some information, because he suggests she was telling me some stuff. I don't know if it was true about Melody. I don't think that was a coincidence, but maybe.
Allie, close us up here.
I just can't get over how weird all of this is. But to the larger point here, there just simply isn't enough evidence to charge her with a crime, because if law enforcement is that desperate and they are resorting to behaviors like trying to infiltrate her close circle of people, they're not doing a very good job. And it kind of shows me that there really is no evidence sufficient enough to even rise to the level of probable cause to charge this woman, to bring her in to try to put the squeeze on her. It's just not there.
Great job as always. Ali Benevento, Carmen Rowe, Lori Murray. We'll see you next time. When we return, something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan investigates a massive search, a chilling discovery, and a courtroom battle that captivated the nation. But with new doubts emerging, is the man convicted of killing Holly Bobo the real killer? And could the case take another shocking turn? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan investigates tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
The disappearance of Anna Walsh.
Her husband now charged with her murder.
All eyes on this accused killer.
The disappearance of Anna Walsh murder trial. Live coverage begins December 1st on Court TV.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Take a look at this. Wanted clown car burglary suspects. They showed up in a Hyundai. They call them the Silly Crew. It's a commercial burglary. Take a look at this clown car. So how many stupid criminals can you fit in a Hyundai Sonata? Yeah, the answer is 9. 9 that are wanted in Northern Virginia. All right, folks, take a look at your screen. We have a child who needs your help tonight. This is Javier Gonzalez. Take a look, 16 years old, missing out of Lancaster, Massachusetts since the 16th of November. Javier Gonzalez. If you see Javier, pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference. 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Massachusetts State Police. Don't worry, Proctor's not going to answer the phone. That number's on your screen right now. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.